It's Monday, March 2nd, and we are 4 days away from the NHL trade deadline. Folks, this is going to be a big show. We're talking Habs trade targets. We have 10 names for you. We're going to dissect it all, why the Habs should go after them, how much they could cost, and how realistic is the probability of it happening. We're also going to ask Snake his thoughts on the Habs game he went to go see, and a certain Matthew Schaefer who's putting on a show. We also got some mailbag questions in the queue and a whole lot more in between. Buckle up. It's a big one, and it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
Oh, I'm excited for this one, Snake. Producer Shayne here, joined as always by my co-host Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
I always feel good on trade deadline week.
It's like Christmas, man. You know, we know things are going to happen. So far, it's been quiet, and honestly, I'm a little happy about that. So that this way, today we can talk about what could happen, and hopefully by Thursday we can talk about what has happened a little bit. But nonetheless, your coverage for the NHL trade deadline at the Sick Podcast is everything you could ask for, okay? We've got Tony. We've got the eye test. We've got Sid. We've got Trust the Process going all week, okay? And on Friday, get ready because we're going live pretty much all day. Not here on this show, but Snake and I are going to make an appearance over on Tony's show. Just you wait for that. But today, Snake, let's focus in on today. And before we get into the trade deadline, however, I'm pretty excited to hear your thoughts on the Habs game you went to go see. We've been teased it last show, right? You're going to go see Matthew Schaefer live and in person. And you're also going to keep an eye on Nick Suzuki to see what he does well. Those little things that we've been talking about. So let's hear it. What's the verdict?
Well, let's start with Suzuki. Suzuki, first of all, didn't get any points, but he had a very, very good game.
It was excellent.
I would say that when he's in the opponent's territory, if you're a fan of the other team, you're always going to be nervous on your seat.
Yep.
Because he's always looking. He always makes great passes. He has great vision. If he needs to shoot, he's going to shoot. If he needs to pass, he's going to pass. He rarely makes a mistake in the opponent's territory. In his own zone, I think he made a couple of good plays that were noticeable if you're in person and you focus on him. The little things, as you say. He carried the puck a couple of times, more than usual, I would say. Nice zone entries. So I think it was a very good game for him. More, I would say, more visible than some nights. Mm-hmm. And Saturday also, he had a great game, and then he scored points on Saturday. So that's my take on Suzuki. So very great job by Nick. Matthew Schaefer, look, I've said before, I've been following hockey for like 52, 53 years. I have seen Bobby Orr play, but I've not seen him at age 18 because that was 1964. I wasn't born. But I can tell you, since the early 70s, I've never seen an 18-year-old defenseman like Matthew Schaefer. There have been some good ones. I think one of them holds the record for points by an 18-year-old defenseman, Phil Housley, who's been a coach and assistant coach in the last few years. Housley was good. He was on kind of smallish, but he was a great puck mover, a great on the power play, but he did not have the presence on the ice that Matthew Schaefer does. It's amazing. I mean, it's hard to believe he's 18.
It's
because he's
impossible.
So self-confident. And I met with some fans at the Bell Center in between periods, and one of them made a very interesting comment. He told me, how can he get better? Because usually when you look at an 18-year-old player, you project, Macklin Celebrini last year. You can see Michael Misa this year. He's really progressing. He's picking up. Yeah. And you can see that, at age 20, 21, 22, they're even going to be better. Matthew Schaefer, how can he be better than he is now? It's scary. It's scary for other teams. I would say that he has a few things to improve in his own zone, which is normal. Yeah. His defensive game is not always up to par. But as for decision-making, puck moving, and the skating is incredible. Yeah, if you remember the second goal that he scored, he just went around
the world.
And he shot at the exact right time. There was nothing the goalie could do. So absolutely amazing. It's great to be a hockey fan in 2026 with all these great players in the NHL right now. And but Schaefer, how many Norris trophies will he win? Nicholas Lindstrom won 6, 7, I think,
something like that. Yeah,
he could be close. There's always someone in a given season who's going to be better than you, so you can't win every year unless you get 90 points. So it's hard to predict how many will win. But one thing will be sure is that he'll be in the top 3. He'll be nominated almost every year. Maybe not this year, but probably starting next year. Rookie of the Year. So far, a month and a half left. I think you have to give it to him. Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise because Demidov was the favorite. I think he'll finish number 2 in the voting.
Seneca's having a good year.
Yeah, Seneca having a great year. Demidov is a great rookie. Seneca, I think it's going to be the top 3. So is it surprising? Well, yes and no. I was very high on Schaefer, so I'm not really surprised how good he is. I'm surprised he's already that good, considering that last year he only played 17 games. And then because he had mono, and then he was injured at the World Juniors, so he hadn't played in 9-10 months when he got to the Islanders training camp. And I really thought they were going to send him back to junior hockey at first, because he hadn't played last year. That was the logical thing to do. But, Patrick Roy and Mathieu Dash kept him around. And right from the start, he was great, and he hasn't hit the rookie wall, which is extremely rare. So you see, that's the thing with Demidov. He just so happened to be arriving in the NHL at the same time as probably a future Hall of Famer. But it doesn't take away what Demidov has done. No. He's had a great rookie season. Same with Beckett, Seneca, and Anaheim.
Listen, Snake, Matthew Schaefer is quickly becoming one of my favorite players in the NHL. How can you not love this kid? And even just the person, right? Outside of the player, he seems like such an incredible dude. But on the ice, it's magic. It's magic. His skating is an unbelievable, Snake. He's a wizard.
Yeah, for older viewers, his skating reminds me of Scott Niedermayer's. But Niedermayer's was not as good as an offensive player as Schaefer is.
It's crazy. He's already one of the best goal-scoring defensemen in the entire NHL as an 18-year-old rookie defenseman. It's crazy to think about the potential, like you mentioned, Snake, the growth that he still has, right? When he'll actually grow into his body. He's got a good frame, right? Look, it's scary times. The Islanders, they used up 100 years of luck with winning that lottery because, they're going to be set for years with this guy. Franchise player. He's going to be the captain at some point when Anders Lee leaves. That's his team.
Now they got to surround him well. I think they're rebuilding the prospect pool, which was barely empty because of the trades that Lamoriello did, trading all these first-round picks. But, they got Callum Ritchie. They got a couple of guys from last year, Eklund, Victor Eklund, William Eklund's brother. They got Cole Yzerman. Don't know about Yzerman yet, but he's a goal scorer because that's what they need now. Okay, there's a reason why Schaefer has almost as many goals as he has assists. It's not a great team, honestly. It's a well-coached team. and they have Matthew Schaefer. So I think that's the two reasons why they're in the playoffs right now. But otherwise, it's kind of a very average roster, I would say. They were really not dominant against the Habs. In fact, they never led in the game. They never led. Yeah. They only scored that goal in overtime. So, but Islanders, I haven't been watching them very much in the last 30, 40 years. But now, to me, this year, they've been must-see TV, if only for Schaefer.
No doubt about it. Yeah. And look, we very well might talk about him again on Thursday. But
he's going to be traded. He's going to be traded.
Snake, if Mathieu Dash does that, there will be a witch hunt. Okay, he will not leave Long Island alive. I'm just saying that. No, but just to talk about him because he's so fun to talk about. But we know what everybody's here for. Okay, you want to hear who the Habs might trade for before this Friday's deadline at 3 p.m. And we've got names for you, as promised. But before we get into the names, Snake, I think it's important to outline the objectives of this trade deadline for the Montreal Canadiens. Every team has different objectives. They have different holes to fill, or they have different players to try to trade. They want to make cap space, whatever it may be. So let's outline those objectives first. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it's the first time in years that the Habs are not going to be sellers. And are they going to be serious buyers in the short term? I'm not sure because I don't think they're close to winning the Stanley Cup yet. However, the Eastern Conference is kind of wide open. If you look at teams like Detroit, Buffalo, Boston, Islanders, Pittsburgh, it's all teams that the Habs can beat. Now, Florida's gone. They're not going to be around. Toronto is not what they used to be. So I think the biggest obstacle for the Habs, obviously, inside their division is Tampa.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's Carolina. But I really think that the Habs would have a better chance of being Carolina than Tampa.
Agreed.
So the big obstacle is Tampa. Now, can they win one round? I clearly think so. They can win one round. And if they're ousted by Tampa in the second round, I think it will have been a successful season because last year they made the playoffs and this year they win one round. So overall, I'm not sure what they're going to do. I think they're going to do something. Could it be something long-term and not just short-term? Maybe. And if it's short-term, I don't think they're going to pay big assets for, let's say, for instance, a Kiefer Sherwood.
No.
Okay. A rental player basically who might be gone in July. They're not going to give away their first round pick for this because when they gave away first round picks last year, it was for Noah Dobson, it was for long term. Now we know how Gordon and Hughes operate. It's been over 4 years now. We see a pattern. I doubt they're going to give up much at this trade deadline unless they get someone in the long term. And there's obviously one big target we're going to talk about later.
So, I haven't teased it yet, but yes, we have both made one big trade prediction. Okay, we'll get to that later in the show. For now, we're just going to talk players, individual players who the Habs should target. But yeah, we both have a trade proposal near the end, so stay tuned for that. Snake, I'd like to add on to the objectives if I can. To me, I think if you're able to make a move to bring in an injection of a winning pedigree, I think that's something that the Habs are sorely lacking. The only Stanley Cup winner on the team is Alex Newhook. That's it.
Although Suzuki and Caulfield reached the finals 5 years ago.
Yeah, but I want winners.
I get your point.
I think that's what the team is missing. It's a bit of that winning pedigree, knowing how to win, knowing what to do in those moments, how to get to those moments. I think that's something that the Habs should really consider investing in. Also, strengthening the top six. And that goes hand in hand with moving Kapanen off of second line center. I've been saying this for a while now. Right now, today, I think he's more suited for a bottom six winger role. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not a center right now. Who's to say he won't be down the line? Okay. But if you're able to get a second line center, a true second line center that strengthened the top six, and hopefully maybe has won the Stanley Cup before, hey, you're in business. Like that significantly upgrades the team. Ideally, I think I would add being able to roll 3 defense pairs. Okay, they've been rolling 5 defensemen and 1 guy for 10 minutes, whether it be Struble or Jack Guy.
Yeah,
that player hasn't been taking the normal reps with his partner. Okay, having 3 good defense pairings would help a lot, and accomplishing all of this. Now I'm getting, maybe I'm dreaming in colors here, but accomplishing all of that without giving up any of Michael Hage, Alexander Zurovsky, Jacob Fowler, Adam Engstrom, and David Reinbacher to keep that nucleus of prospects intact would be monumental. However, I have one more. Objective, and this is probably the biggest one. Okay. And Snake, we could do a whole show on this one down the line. In 2028, Connor McDavid's contract expires. You see where I'm going with this. If by 2027, the Edmonton Oilers haven't done anything, he will want to win elsewhere. The Habs need to make sure that they are in a position to potentially bring in Connor McDavid, because a player like that never comes around, okay? You cannot mortgage that opportunity right now for immediate results. Now, I know I'm thinking far ahead and I'm being a dreamer. I get it. But the fact that it is a possibility is enough for you to prepare for it, okay? Because McDavid would make you probably a dynasty.
Well, I think
that's where I'm at.
I think they're already prepared, because if you look at the long-term contracts that they have given out, they have cost certainty, whether it be for Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Hudson. There's a lot of cost certainty, and there is no contract that is really preventing them from making a run at a guy like McDavid a couple of years down the road. And the thing that protects any team that makes a run at McDavid in a couple of years is that with the new rules, if he changes teams, he's only going to be able to sign for 6 years, which is excellent. Because let's face it, Connor McDavid, probably my favorite player of all time, will not, he unfortunately, he's human. And at some point, he's going to slow down.
Yeah.
So I don't know a 35, 36, 37 McDavid, what he will look like, especially that his game is based on speed and his hands. And so... But a 6-year contract, even if he gives you like 3 fantastic years and then 3 okay years, which probably for McDavid, an okay year would be 75 points. I think he would be worth pursuing. I'm not a big free agent guy at all, especially the 31-year-old guys. But, we're talking McDavid here. And the salary cap is going up, and it's only a 6-year contract. And 8 years, 8 years, I'm not so sure I would do it. But 6 years, I would probably do it. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of speculation around McDavid in the next couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Because first of all, he'll want to cash in, or at least his agent will want to cash in, because he never really cashed in if you consider his worth to a team. He probably made money outside of hockey. This is how he cashed in on his popularity and his greatness. But look, Edmonton is going nowhere. And Stan Bowman is making one bad move after the other. He traded for Tristan Jarry. Oof, okay, and he gave over Brett Kulak, but then Brett Kulak garnered Sam Girard and a second-round pick for Pittsburgh. So it makes Bowman look very bad. So look, like you say, we can do a whole show about this, but it's obviously within the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, and if I may, I don't think he's making it to free agency. If the Oilers know that
they're going to trade him.
They're going to trade him. You can't let Connor McDavid walk for nothing. So
well, like Wayne
like
Gretzky in 1988. One thing that is forgotten about the Gretzky trade. Yeah, it was about money. Yeah, the owner was broke. We all know that. But there is one thing that is not often mentioned is that Wayne Gretzky was 1 year away from unrestricted free agency. So he was as good as gone.
There you go. So anyways, that's where I'm at. Those are the objectives. So 20 minutes in, let's get into the names. Okay. Let's have some fun. We're going to talk about the player profile, why that fits the Habs, and how much you think that player would cost. So let's start with a player that we both agree the Habs should be interested in, but he might not be interested in the Habs. Talking about Ryan O'Reilly here, 35 years old, left-handed center, 6'1", 207 pounds. This season is having a great year. 21 goals, 36 assists. It's almost a point per game, Snake. 57 points in 59 games. Always reliable on the faceoff dot, 55.3%. He plays power play and penalty kill, so very versatile, two-way center. Stanley Cup champion, won the Conn Smythe. 67 points in 81 career playoff games. Excellent. And he's under contract for $4.5 million a year until 2027. This is a very attractive profile, Snake, but reports are saying that he doesn't, not only does he not want to go to a big market team, he doesn't want to leave Nashville at all.
Yeah, so that pretty much makes it a moot point, but just for the sake of discussion, well, the pros are that basically you have him for 2 playoff runs and not just one. And who knows next year where the Habs will be. They could be getting closer and closer to the Stanley Cup Finals. And the salary is very affordable. The only problem is what he would cost. I would assume that a guy like O'Reilly will get you a first-round pick, a late first-round pick, and a prospect. Not necessarily a top prospect, but a prospect. Do you want to give away a pick between 20 and 32? I would say maybe 22 and 32 for Ryan O'Reilly. That's the question. Personally,
I would.
Yeah.
If he's interested, I would. A first and let's say two B prospects, right? If that's the cost. A first and 2 B prospects. You do it?
I'm on the fence about the first pick, honestly.
Really?
I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. I'm on the fence. But like we say, it's probably a moot point. He's probably not going to be on the move.
Yeah. Worth having the discussion, however. And you know, there's other players that we're going to get to who probably aren't going to get moved either. But, for the sake of talking, for the sake of making a fun show, you know what? We're going to bring them up. So Ryan O'Reilly, the verdict is probably not. Moving along now to a player that we both agree, again, the Habs should target, from the Columbus Blue Jackets, Charlie Coyle.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting profile yet again. 33 years old, right-handed center, 6'3", 220 pounds. We know how, the Montreal media has been talking about getting bigger. You need size. Charlie Coyle is not a small guy. 15 goals, 28 assists this season, 43 points in 58 games. Very good offensive year for him. 50.3% on the faceoff dot. Reliable. He's about average. Can play power play and penalty kill. Okay, so kind of like O'Reilly, right? Versatile. 53 points in 126 playoff games. Has never won the cup, however. And he is an upcoming UFA. Right now, he's making $5.25 million. But he does have a no movement clause, which does complicate the situation. What are we thinking?
I think he would lift the clause because a guy like Charlie Coyle is not going to make the playoffs. So when he reaches free agency in July, it's not going to be part of his pedigree. If he reaches the playoffs and he plays well, then his price tag goes up. So I would think that Charlie Coyle would lift his no trade clause for a contending team or at least a solid playoff team. Now, Charlie Coyle has always been a favorite of mine ever since. That goes back to junior hockey when he played in the Q. And I I don't think he's a great defensive player, but I think he's a good offensive player. But especially, he's annoying for opponent. He's very annoying. He's such a strong guy.
Yeah.
You see him in the corner, battling for the puck and in front of the net. And this is the type of guy that you need in the playoffs. And I think he fits perfectly what the Habs need. He could actually, he's more of a middle of the lineup player, but obviously with the Habs, I think he could play second line center.
Yes.
And it would be fantastic with Slav and Demidov, I think. We never know about the chemistry, but I think it's worth trying.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Charlie Coyle is that my guess, and we'll see, maybe on Friday I'll look stupid, but I don't think you have to give up a first-round pick for him. I think that a second and a prospect would do it.
Okay.
That's my guess. So, yeah, I would do it. Right. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't think twice.
Right away. The fact that he is a pending UFA, however, do you think that changes things? Do you think the Habs should try to look into, getting a contract settled before making a trade?
No, because I usually these things happen with a Panarin, let's say, a superstar. In this case, Charlie Coyle is just another rental player when you think about it. He's not a superstar. So I don't think whatever happens, if they can re-sign him for a couple of years afterwards, fine, at a reasonable price. If they can't re-sign him, it doesn't matter. I would go for him at least for this playoff run and then see what happens.
Fair enough. So verdict on Charlie Coyle is do it if you can. All right, Snake, I want to bring up a name that I know you haven't sent over to me. We chatted about this beforehand. We tried to get some names out, but I wanted to bring up a few others to get your take.
Sure.
And this is a name that has been in the rumor mill, however, has not been linked to the Habs directly. Vincent Trocheck.
Yeah.
Okay. Vincent Trocheck. My God, the profile is probably one of the better ones available on the market. 32 years old, right-handed center, 5'11", 187, but he plays big, okay? 12 goals, 26 assists, 38 points this season in 45 games, 57.4% on the faceoffs. He is one of the best in the NHL at that. He proved it in the Olympics as well. He was used in that regard. He's averaging 3.09 hits per game. That is 7th among active NHL centers, and he plays power play and penalty kill. The versatility is amazing. Playoff experience, hey, not bad. 37 points in 56 career playoff games. Has never won the cup, however, but reliable in the playoffs. And a good contract. $5.625 million a year until 2029. And he has a modified 12-team no-trade clause. Whoa. This is interesting, Snake.
Obviously, this guy would cost a first-round pick.
Yes.
I wouldn't have a problem with that because he's under contract until 2029. Now, it's 4 more years for a guy like him at age 32 is a lot. So he might not be able to remain a 2C forever. And at the same time, you don't want to block the path to a guy like Michael H. So I think given that he's only making 5.6, I do think that it's good because if Michael H passes him on the depth chart at some point, you can actually have a 3C at 5.6, and it's not going to hurt your payroll. So for that reason, I would go for it. If he were making 8-9 million, I would say no, because it's too long of a contract and you don't want to block the path to Michael H just because you're making 8-9 million a year. But at 5.6, I would do it. I would give away a first-round pick. He's an interesting case because he's under contract until 2029. So that's 4 more years after this year. And that could be hard to swallow for a 32-year-old guy who plays hard because you never know how it'll be at the end of the contract. And if you make him your second-line center, you don't want to block Michael H, first of all. And second of all, you don't know how efficient he'll be in 4 years. However, the good thing is his contract. The fact that he's only making 5.6 million a year makes him a candidate to be a 3C at some point. If Michael H passes him on the depth chart, if the Habs make another trade, if another player pops out, you're okay, with a 3C at 5.6. So I think the price, obviously, for a long-term guy is going to be at least a first-round pick. That's probably the starting point of any conversation. And then probably prospects, but probably not a B prospect. I don't think it would be like necessarily a top prospect, but maybe someone in between, someone that the Rangers feel have a chance to make the NHL. Yeah, at least as a middle of the lineup player. So who knows who that could be? But could it be an Engstrom? So would I give away a first and Engstrom? I think that's probably that's as high as I would go.
But he's not. He's not at the top of your wish list.
No. I'm not crazy about the fact that he's under contract for 4 more years. But you brought him up. I don't think it's a bad suggestion, but I just think that you have to be careful. With this guy.
No doubt. That's the one. Yeah. That's the one question mark with him. And also, actually, there's another one. And Pierre Maguire brought it up, and he's more plugged in than I am. That's for sure. He's thinking that the relationship between Jeff Gorton and Chris Drury could prevent any trades between the Canadiens and the Rangers. So that alone could just nix this. And we actually have another Ranger player coming up in a bit. I'm not going to say who yet, but you know what? That might just not happen at all because of that.
You're right.
Which would be unfortunate. But that's the reality of the situation. Verdict on Trocheck is probably not. He'll go to another team, but he'll likely be moved because the Rangers, they need to do something. No bueno. All right, moving along now to a player that you suggested and I hadn't thought about. And this is a player that, I haven't heard the name at all, which is really interesting because the team isn't doing great. Warren Foegele of the Los Angeles Kings. He's the only center that we haven't mentioned yet. Okay, the first winger, 29-year-old winger. 6'2", 205 pounds. He's got 7 goals, 2 assists, 9 points in 46 games this year. Not his best offensive year.
Nope.
He's averaging about a hit, a little over a hit per game. So, still using his size, can play power play. He plays on the second unit in LA, even though it's not a very deep offensive team, obviously. Career playoff experience is pretty good. 27 points in 86 career games. Contract $3.5 million until 2027 with a modified 5-team no trade clause. Why did you want to talk about Mr. Foegele?
Well, because he's having a terrible season, so it's a buy low situation. But I've watched him play this year. Obviously he's not as good as previous seasons, but I don't think his stats. His bad stats are really an indicator of how bad he's become. Okay. In the sense that he's not a bad player. But the fact that his statistics are horrible, I think it makes him a good candidate for a buy low trade. And, it's only 1 more year. It's 3.5. I don't see him as necessarily a top 6 guy. That's the point. But the Habs, I know they have a lot of bottom 6 players, but they need to get bigger and more aggressive. And this guy he can pot in goals sometimes. We saw it in Edmonton, Yeah. So I would think, but to me, that's a 2nd round pick max for this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
but I think he's a good depth player. He's a good depth player who could add something. And then you have him next year at 3.5. Then whatever happens. You can let him go, and he hasn't cost too much. So 2nd round pick for this guy.
Interesting. Yeah. I've never considered that possibility, but you know what? Like the profile, you look at the stats this year, they don't jump out at you, right? But when he was with Edmonton, he was a very serviceable player.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing physical, right? This year, it's something's not working. Maybe a change of scenery would help him. And even his first year with LA, I think that's his most productive year last year.
Yes.
So it's just not working.
I think it's just I don't think he's done. I think it's just this year is just an aberration. So I would try and buy low on this guy.
There we go. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Would you trade for Warren Foegele. All right, moving along now to another player that I want to talk about. You haven't mentioned. Again, there's question marks with this one, but we'll bring it up anyways. Talking about Brayden Schenn.
Okay.
The captain of the St. Louis Blues. Again, we're on the topic of centers, even though he's playing on the wing right now with Dalibor Dvorsky. 34 years old, left-handed center, 6'1", 200 pounds, 12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points in 60 games this season. He's regressing, right, which is normal for a 34-year-old, but he's still excellent on faceoffs, 54.4%, and he throws the body, 2.24 hits per game. Again, versatile, plays the power play and penalty kill. Stanley Cup champion in 2019, we know, 43 points in 82 career playoff games, very good. And the contract, $6.5 million until 2028 with a modified 15-team no trade clause. What do we think about Mr. Schenn?
I think if he were a free agent at the end of the year, I would say go for it. But the fact that he's under contract for like 2 more years after this season makes him a no-no. He's never been one of my favorite players. I thought he was drafted way too high at number 5. But overall, yeah, for one playoff run, I would say yes, but not for 2 more years. So to me, the answer is no.
Especially at 6.5. And that's why I say there's question marks with this guy. Obviously, he's the captain of the Blues as well, so they probably don't want to move him. But again, he's on the tail end of the career here, so maybe they want to get something for him. 6.5 is a bit rich for, what he brings, but again, a serviceable player, could be an interesting target. The verdict on Schenn is most likely not. Now, another reason why I brought him up, Snake, is because I want to bring up his brother too.
Oh man,
Luke Schenn. Let's get the brothers together. Okay, Luke Schenn has been in the discussion. He has been mentioned. Yeah. I think Tony's mentioned him as a possible target, and a few other members of the media. 36-year-old defenseman, right-handed, and we're getting into the defenseman now. 6'2", 225 pounds, and he gives you all those 225 pounds because he's averaging 3.1 hits per game, 1.23 blocks. He's obviously not a point producer. But you know what? The minutes are, I guess, better than Strubal's. 13.43 a game on average. Doesn't play that much, but he does play on the top penalty killing unit. 2-time Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? 2020, 2021. And he's under contract. Actually, he's going to be a UFA here at the end of the season. $2.75 million for him right now. What say you on big Luke Schenn?
Well, another guy who's never been a favorite of mine. Again, he was drafted 5th overall. I never understood this one. But in this case, he's under contract until the end of the year. Only it's 2.7, so this is absolutely not a problem. Would he be an upgrade over Struble and Jack-Eye? The answer is yes. We're talking about 13 minutes a game. We're not talking about 20 minutes a game. Now, is this like a very, very short-term acquisition? Yes, and yes. You don't re-sign this guy. And if you do, it has to be at a very low cost in order to fill a bridge, between him and another player. No more than a 3rd-round pick for this guy. But he's probably going to garner a 2nd-round pick. He's probably going to be traded. Look, these guys are in demand.
Yeah.
The shot blockers, the hardworking, tough guys on defense, veteran guys, they are in demand. But I would not give up more than a 3rd-round pick. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even bother. But just for argument's sake, 3rd-round pick.
Could be interesting. But yeah, no, I think if you're going to go for an upgrade on defense, I think you want something a little more. How can I say this? Maybe a guy that plays more than 13 minutes a game.
But at the same time, Shayne, I agree with you when you said the Habs don't really have a number 6 defenseman right now.
That's it. So that's why we're getting into
he could be a number 6 defenseman in that sense.
Yeah. Now we're getting into the defenseman discussion here because again, we talked about forwards and centers mostly. We also mentioned that there is a hole per se on defense. So Luke Schenn is the first. Verdict, maybe.
Yeah.
Next up is a guy you've brought up multiple times, actually, and you did so on Tony's show. Conor Murphy of the Chicago Blackhawks, 32 years old, right-handed defenseman, 6'4", 212 pounds, big boy, 13 points in 60 games this season. He's averaging about a hit per game, 1.47 blocks, playing on average 16 minutes per game. That's better than Schenn, obviously. Plays on the second penalty killing unit. Only 9 career playoff games, so not a ton of experience there. But again, a pending UFA. Right?
He was playing for Arizona and Chicago, so you can't.
That's it. Yeah, I'm surprised he even has 9 playoff games.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, pending UFA, Conor Murphy. What are we thinking?
Well, I brought him up because I think he should be the target. I mentioned it to Tony a few weeks ago. I remember 4.4 is fine. I think the Habs can manage this cap number.
Yeah.
Do you re-sign him? I don't know. It depends on his performance. But one thing is sure, he is what the doctor ordered. This is a guy who can play 15 minutes a game, and he's been efficient. He's not flashy at all, but the Habs don't need flashy defensemen. They need tough guys who can play. And I think this guy is a strong guy who can play. I would give up a second-round pick for him. Ooh. If they trade him, that's probably what they're going to get for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, odds are he is going to be moved. I mean, the Blackhawks are going nowhere right now.
Yeah.
Down the line they will, but Conor Murphy doesn't really fit, the future vision of the Blackhawks, even though, he's given some good years to that team and he's a leader, obviously wearing an A on his jersey. But he's most likely going to be moved. And I think I agree with you. The Habs should be interested in this defenseman. He would definitely be an upgrade, and he could play, again, regular shifts. He wouldn't have to skip. He wouldn't have to play 10 minutes a game. He's reliable. He's been around the block, 32 years old. He's a big boy. So, I think that's the verdict on Conor Murphy would be a big old thumbs up.
Go for it. Yeah,
I like it. All right. The aforementioned Rangers player that we're going to talk about here, Braden Schneider. Braden Schneider, I'm surprised. Well, maybe. I don't know. I'm surprised a little bit that he's in the trade discussions because he's 24 years old, right? And he was a first-round pick for the Rangers. However, this year it's not working out for him, okay? 11 points in 59 games. He is 6'4", 214 pounds, and he throws the body around, averaging 2 hits a game, 1.64 blocks. He plays on average of 20 minutes per game. So, again, he's a minute muncher. That's good. Plays on the top penalty killing unit. He's got 43 playoff games of experience, and he's making $2.2 million this season, but he's a pending unrestricted free agent, I believe. So
restricted,
correct. Yeah, restricted free agent. So what are we thinking on Mr. Schneider?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's going to cost more. If they any team that acquires him and re-signs him, it's probably going to go up to $4 or $5 million a year, maybe on a bridge deal. Who knows? Because he hasn't had a great season. The reason why I included him is only because I've seen him in trade rumors for months now, and I'm surprised because he's only 24.
Mm-hmm.
He's right-handed. To me, that's the key. That's what the Habs need. And again, this is a move for the long term. This is not a short-term move. This is a move for the long term because Schneider could play another 6, 7, 8 years with the Habs. So I do think that they would have to give up a first-round pick for him. Late first-round pick from 2026. I would be okay with this, and a prospect. So depends on whom. Not a top prospect, but some guy maybe from either the NCAA or Laval that the Rangers like. But will they trade with the Rangers? That's another story. Will Brayden Schneider be moved? I'm really not sure. As much as I think that, guys like Conor Murphy will be moved, I don't know how far the Rangers want to go in their teardown of the team. I know they're open for business, but how much are they open for business? Giving away a 24-year-old guy who still fits a timeline of a retool or reboot or reset, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
we shall see. Some names pop up in the rumor mill, And although sometimes these names come from trustworthy insiders, I was still a little bit surprised to see his name out there. So we'll see by Friday.
That's it. No, it's an interesting name for sure. For those who aren't overly familiar with Braden Schneider, Snake, what do you think he would bring? What's his best quality that he would bring to Montreal if he were traded?
Well, I think this is a guy who obviously is a defensive defenseman. Mm-hmm. He's and like I say, right-handed. He's 6'4", but he can also carry the puck. He can also contribute a little bit to the offense, and you always want this in a defenseman. It's nice to have these strictly stay-at-home defensive defensemen, but even a stay-at-home defenseman, you want him to be able to make a good first pass. You want him to be able to support the attack in the opponent zone, and I think Braden Schneider can do that without necessarily being what we call a typical offensive defenseman. I like his two-way game, and so that's the advantage he has over maybe a guy like Conor Murphy or Luke Schenn, is that he can support the attack a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, the verdict on Schneider would be hell yeah, but again, the strained relationship between the Habs and the Rangers might prevent this from happening. So, remains to be seen. Let us know in the chat how much you'd be willing to give up for this player and every other player we mentioned as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on this. Moving along now, Snake, we have two more defensemen to get to, and we didn't discuss either of them, okay? I wanted to spring them on you because their names have been in the rumor mill. One of them directly related to the Habs. I think you know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to get to him first. I'm going to get to Zach Whitecloud first, okay? Zach Whitecloud is a 29-year-old right-shot defenseman who was just recently traded from the Vegas Golden Knights in the Rasmus Andersson deal. 6'2", 118 pounds. So I don't know that the Flames want or should move him. I think he's an excellent depth defenseman, 11 points in 58 games. He's averaging 1.5 hits, 1.3 blocks, playing on average 19 minutes per game, plays on the top penalty killing unit. He's a Stanley Cup champion with the Vegas Golden Knights, obviously. 17 points in 78 career playoff games. And a good contract, $2.75 million until 2028. What are we thinking here?
Well, what did Calgary get aside from Whitecloud for Anderson? Was it a second round pick? A first?
I think it was a first.
They got a first.
I'll find it for you right now.
So for now, they got their first round pick that they wanted for Rasmus Andersson.
Yeah.
So now Whitecloud is like house money. What do you do with him? Do you keep him through your rebuild? Or do you try and monetize it even more to make the Rasmus Andersson trade even more interesting? Mm-hmm. I think if you're just getting a second round pick for Whitecloud, I don't see the point of trading him because, they're going to need bodies. Although you do a rebuild, they're going to need bodies, and he has a good contract. So I don't see him being moved unless Calgary can get either a good prospect or a first round pick. Which I doubt. Personally, if I were the Habs, would I go for him? Yeah, maybe. But again, you don't want to give out a first round pick for
that's the asking price. Yeah, no, that's
it's the asking price. Second round pick, I would give it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What if they want a roster player and like a second or third round pick? Let's say they ask for Struble in a second. You do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind giving away a roster player like him. A roster player who's lower on the depth chart for Whitecloud, so that they can have someone to replace him. Mm-hmm. I would give Struble in the second. Yeah,
there we go. So to answer your question, the trade word for word is Rasmus Andersson in exchange for Whitecloud, Abram Wybe, a 2027 first round pick, and a conditional 2028 second round pick. Okay. So the Flames made out like bandits, in my opinion, for Rasmus Andersson. That was an incredible trade for their part. But they could actually get more draft capital by moving Zach Whitecloud. Depends how they view him in the future plans. But if he is on the move, and his name has been in circulation, not directly linked to the Habs, however, if he is on the move, I think the Habs should inquire. So the verdict is only if the price is right for Whitecloud. Last defenseman and last player we're going to get to before we get to our crazy trade, Snake, is a name that has been linked to the Habs. Rasmus Ristolainen.
I didn't know he was linked to the Habs.
Well, sort of. So the rumor goes that Kit Hughes has inquired on the price.
Yeah.
But most likely he'd be going, I think, to either Detroit or Dallas. I don't know. It's just rumors. But again, the Canadiens have been mentioned in the same breath as Rasmus Ristolainen. 31 years old, right shot D, 6'4", 220 pounds. You know,
I think he's been a disappointing player ever since he started out very well in Buffalo, and then at some point it's been downhill. Buffalo was able to get the 14th pick overall for him when they traded him to Philly. Now he's much older. He's not producing as much because it's not his role anymore in Philly. Would he be an upgrade over Struble? Of course, but I'm not sure I want to give away assets for this guy.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like if you were a free agent and he said, "I'm going to sign 1 year with you guys at $5 million," yeah, of course. But it's not happening. He's under contract for next year. No, to me, I'll pass.
Yeah.
I'll pass. Yeah.
I think that's the consensus among fans that I've seen, right? The $5 million a year and next year as well is a bit steep. He does, however, play 20 minutes a game on average, penalty killing and all that. And we know that he can throw the body. He doesn't hit a lot, but when he does hit, he hurts, right? So again, that's kind of why I think he's been in conversation with the Habs, is because, you know, they're looking for that kind of defenseman. But at that price and probably what the Flyers would want for him, yeah, I think the correct move would be to pass on Rasmus Ristolainen. Well, Snake, that covers our players. Well, we're not quite done just yet. I know we're almost an hour in the show. I told you guys it's going to be a big one, okay? I hope you're buckled in, because this is when it gets interesting. Now, before we get to our crazy trades, okay, I think it's a perfect time for me to tell you all about our partners here at the Sick Podcast who make this show possible, and you see them at the bottom of the screen. They've been with us from the beginning. I want to thank our friends at Cheapest T-Shirts. Very simple, really. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices, plus same-day shipping, and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. Whether you're shopping for T-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, hats, tote bags, polos, aprons, tank tops, and so much more, you'll find it all in one place. Plus, you can enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And of course, don't select a bust with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. All right. To make this show interesting, as even more interesting than it already has been, we wanted to push ourselves. We wanted to make this fun. Okay. So we thought, okay, let's make up a scenario where the Habs go for it. Okay. They don't go for the home run. They go for the grand slam. A big boy trade. What would that look like? Okay. So Snake, we'll start with yours first. Your target here is, of course, Robert Thomas, 26 years old, center, 6 foot, 207 pounds, 35 points in 43 games this season, 52.4% on faceoffs, plays power play and penalty kill, Stanley Cup champion, 26 points in 52 career playoff games, and he's under contract until 2031 at $8.125 million a year. And his name has been all over the place. So first, before we get into the trade, tell me why you think the Habs and you would want to go after Robert Thomas.
Well, I was surprised that he was in the trade rumors because he's still very young. He's on a contract for 5 years at a very reasonable price. So as much as St. Louis wants to reset and perhaps focus on a younger core, it's surprising. It's surprising that this guy could be on the move. But obviously, I would make an offer for him. I would... Just a little preamble here. 9 years ago, I ranked this guy number 5 on my draft list in 2017. Not many people had ranked him that high. I think if we did a redraft of 2017, he would probably be in the top 10. He was picked 20th overall, which I thought was an absolute steal. Yeah. And I think he has been a steal. Now, I love that player, and I think he would make a fantastic 1-2 punch with Nick Suzuki because he would give the Habs the opportunity to basically mix and match the lines whenever.
No doubt.
They feel like it. So whether you have Slavkovsky, you have Demidov, you have Caulfield, and you're thinking, okay, who does Thomas play with? Doesn't matter, really. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think it would be a formidable 1-2 punch. And 2031, which I think Cole Caulfield his contract ends in 2031. Nick Suzuki 2030. So the Habs would have 5 playoff runs at least with those two guys. Now the question is, what do the Blues want? It was rumored that they wanted the equivalent of 3 first-round picks in the top 15. What they mean by that is 3 guys who are worthy of being top 15 picks, because you can't get 3 top 15 picks because you don't know the team that's going to give you something for Robert Thomas. We don't know where they're going to end in the standings. And the Habs obviously are not going to have 3 lottery picks in a row in the next 3 drafts. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to make the playoffs all 3 years. And even if they miss 1 year, I mean, this is not going to be the equivalent. So I think what they mean is they want a package that could be worthy of getting 3 good NHL players in the end.
Now, Snake, if I may interject, we know that the market for centers is massive right now. Like, almost every team would want a center. So I think that's why the Blues are asking so much, because they know that one team will actually pay up that much to get him. So with that being said, you made a trade proposal. Let's take a look at it. This is what we're thinking here.
Look, you have to give something to get something. Look, you have to get something. I know some fans might go nuts, and I don't, that's fine if they think that it's too much that I'm giving away. But I'm also being realistic. I mean, last night I was having fun on Twitter and I saw some trade proposals.
Oof.
And
that's a bad idea, man.
You can't touch Michael Hage. You can't touch Zorovsky. You can't touch Fowler. You can't touch anybody. So they're down to giving Kapanen and Owen Beck, basically. What are the Blues going to do with these guys? You need to have, usually these trades, historically, have included one major prospect, one major piece.
Yeah.
And draft picks, and let's say another prospect who can be an NHL regular, not necessarily a star. So that's how I was trying to build it. And I was also thinking of the 3 first-round picks they were mentioning. So obviously Michael Hage would qualify as a top 15 pick. Now, the 26th and 27th pick are not going to be top 15 pick. Mm-hmm. So in order to compensate for that, I would add Adam Engstrom. Why? He's a young defenseman. The Blues need young defensemen. That's why they made the trade for Logan Mailloux. By the way, Logan Mailloux, just parentheses here. I've watched him play in the last few weeks, and he's really, really improved. He's been doing very well. And
Nice.
he used to be lost, in his own zone. And I was like, okay. And really now he's way more focused. So little parentheses about Logan Mailloux. So Adam Engstrom, I think he would fit what the Blues need, which is young defensemen. Yeah. Michael Hage could eventually replace Robert Thomas, and the 26-27 pick, which would probably be between 22 and 32 or something. I think it's fair. Some fans might think it's too much. But remember, you're getting a guy for 6 playoff runs.
Yeah.
He's 25 years old. He's under contract for $8 million. So again, cost certainty. He fits the Habs timeline. Yeah. The Habs need a 2 seed. They can't win the cup with Oliver Kapanen as 2 seed. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. You have to give up someone. Could I have given up Zorowski? Yeah, but no, I want to keep Zorowski. and I would think that the Blues would go for someone who can play center. I don't know if Hage is going to be a center in the NHL, but at least he is a center right now, and he has the features of a very good number 2 center in the NHL eventually.
That's it.
So that's why you have to give something to get something. If Robert Thomas gets traded, but not to the Habs, I'm very curious to see what the package will look like, the package that I thought of putting together now, and if the Blues receive fair value for him.
Yeah, because the rumor has it that the Blues are looking for a Quinn Hughes type of package.
Yeah, makes sense. Thomas. It makes sense.
Look, Quinn Hughes is obviously leaps and bounds above Robert Thomas, but in the context of the situation, it does make sense because
Quinn Hughes was going to leave. Quinn Hughes was going to leave Vancouver.
Good point.
Next year. Robert Thomas is under contract until 2031. So in a way, he has more value than Quinn Hughes for that reason. Although Quinn Hughes is a better player.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, the only asterisk of this trade that I'll add, Snake, is the cap situation. Yeah. Because obviously by doing this trade and assuming that the Habs would waive Joe Veleno, they would still be $8.2 million over the cap. So obviously this entails that Patrik Laine would have to be moved at full cost, no retention, which would mean that probably the Habs would have to pay up more to make this trade work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you would still do that if
no, I don't think the Habs need the Blues to keep money.
But right now, if this exact trade would happen, the Habs would be 8.2 over the cap. So they would need to move Laine in a separate deal, maybe not necessarily.
But
and you no retention, which means probably the Habs would have to pay up.
Yeah, for Laine. Yeah. Look, we would have to look at the cap room that they have, because you know how teams can accumulate cap room every day until the trade deadline. And also Robert Thomas's contract. He's at $8 million a year, but 3/4 of the season have gone by. So the amount would be $2 million out of 8. We would have to look this up on Puckpedia.
Yeah, I did the exercise on Puckpedia just for curiosity, because there's a what is it called? The Puck GM feature where you can try trades and see how it looks on the cap and all that, and those are the numbers that I got. Right?
Okay.
But,
okay.
No, I think it's obvious that Patrik Laine is going to be moved and would have to be moved. The only question mark here is retention, right? Because if you trade Patrik Laine with retention, you probably don't have to pay another team to take him on. However, if you're going to trade him at full cost, then maybe, but again, this stuff gets really complicated really fast. So for the sake of this discussion, we'll just stay at that.
Yeah.
But let us know in the chat if you think this would benefit the Habs, if you would do it, how you would change it, if you wouldn't do it, whatever it may be. Let us know in the comments.
As long as no one tells me Kapanen, Owen Beck, a second and a third round pick. You never know.
That's not going to happen.
Or Jaden Struble. Look, I've seen some very
Robert Thomas is a first line center. Like, I think people need to realize that.
There is, I've seen some very funny trade proposals, but Look, I usually don't do speculation like this. I prefer commenting trades after they happen. But I made an exception on trade deadline week because it's with the last week of June, where trades and draft and free agency, it's probably the most interesting time during the season.
Exactly. And we want to have fun. Like these are all just speculations. We're trying to make the discussion interesting and pleasant. So,
but it'll be fun to see next Monday or next Monday who was traded and who was not, and what the teams got for these guys.
Exactly. And look, it could very well be that the Montreal Canadiens don't make a single trade. It happened last year. It could happen again this year. But you know what? We're having fun with this. It's trade deadline week, and Snake, it's my turn now. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I gave myself a challenge with this one. I'm like, think outside the box. I went way beyond the box, my friend. All right. I chose a name that I haven't seen anybody talk about. And maybe someone has. If they have, please let me know. But I haven't seen anything about this guy.
And I'm not aware of it. You haven't told me.
I kept you in the dark on purpose because I know you're going to have some thoughts on this one. Okay. This is not a Macklin Celebrini take that I had before the year. It's not that bad. Okay. It's not that bad, but it's out there. Okay. I'm not going to lie. It's out there. Do I think this is going to happen? No. Could it? Maybe, because that team is out of the playoff spot this season. Anton Lundell.
Okay.
24 years old, left-handed center, 6'1", 196 pounds, 42 points in 57 games this season as the Florida Panthers' third-line center. 52.4% on the face-off dot. Can play power play and penalty kill. Obviously, a two-time Stanley Cup champion in 24 and 25. 46 points in 77 career playoff games. In these last playoffs, he was a monster. And he has a phenomenal contract here at $5 million a year until 2030. Anton Lundell, to me, would be the ideal second-line center.
Can I, before you show your trade proposal, can I ask you one question?
Of course.
Why would Florida trade a young guy when they have an aging team unless they get younger assets in return?
Precisely.
Let's see.
So my trade proposal is outlandish. I'll admit it's out there. Okay. I'm not going to get to it just yet. I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
The Florida Panthers have made a decision. Okay. They have made a decision. They have chosen to commit to their older core because they re-signed Carter Verhaeghe. They re-signed Brad Marchand. They re-signed Aaron Ekblad. All right. And who knows what they're going to do with Sergei Bobrovsky. If I had to guess, I actually think they're going to keep him and re-sign him. Obviously not for $10 million a year, okay? Because he's having a terrible season. However, put it in context, he just went to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. Like, this guy is battered, okay? And he is 37 years old. So he's got about a year or two left. I think the Panthers are going to want to go for it again next year with that core, which means Anton Lundell's on the third line, making $5 million a year. Now, again, the Panthers do not have cap flexibility. I think this is where the Habs come in. This is where you can finagle some things, okay? Get creative and find a way to get this player. Stay with me now. This is what I'm thinking. I know you see Oliver Kapanen and you're like, yeah. You see Kirby Dach, Patrick Laine, Hold on. Stay with me now, okay? I know I'm out there. You can call me crazy in the chat. I don't care. Oliver Kapanen.
Can I call you crazy outside of the chat?
You can call me crazy anytime, Snake, because you're my friend and I will not get offended. We're having fun. Okay? So let's just have some fun. Oliver Kapanen, okay, is a 21 or 22-year-old center, or in our opinion, winger, who still has another year left on his ELC. All right? So you get 2 years younger and $4 million cheaper with Kapanen compared to Lundell. Obviously, Lundell is a significantly better player. However, production-wise, it's not that far off. And at the same age, Kapanen is actually producing more. We'll leave it at that. Kirby Dach is an expiring UFA, okay? Next season, if they like what he gives them this year, they can re-sign him for cheap, prove-it deal, and you know what? It could pay off, right? Right now, the concern is with the injuries, but since he's come back, personally sake, I've really enjoyed his game. Is he a first-line winger? No. Could he be a really good depth player for the Panthers? I think so. Patrik Laine. This is where it gets interesting. His best friend is Alexander Barkov. It's well documented. The contingent of Finnish players on the Panthers is extraordinary. You think of Ristolainen, you think of Mikkola, you think of Barkov, right? Could add Laine to that mix. And another expiring UFA could sign him to a prove-it deal for dirt cheap, could provide some depth scoring. And I know that the Panthers have snipers already on the team. You think of Verhaeghe, you think of Sam Reinhart. Depth scoring is always necessary. And I think Patrik Laine actually fits the style, sort of, that the Panthers play, which is slow. The Panthers are not a run and gun, beat you with speed type of team. They are going to slow down the pace. They're going to crush you on the offense, right? They're going to forecheck hard. It's not really Patrik Laine's forte. However, I think he could fit in that mold. And all those players I just named are big players. That's the MO for the Panthers. Now, this is the sweetener, okay? I'm adding Yevgeny Volokhin to the mix because the Panthers are quite thin in terms of goaltending depth in their prospect pool and just in general. Aside from Bobrovsky, who is on the tail end of the career, they have Cooper Black, who's an interesting prospect. Kirill Gerasimyuk, don't know much about him, unfortunately. And Danil Tarasov, who is an expiring UFA. I don't know that they're going to sign him. He's been an okay backup for Bobrovsky, so I think they could use some help down there. And obviously, you got to throw in a first-round pick. That's a must for Anton Lundell and AJ Greer. Okay, this would allow Snake. I went deep down the rabbit hole. Okay, I'm not done here. This would allow the Panthers to have $22.565 million this summer to re-sign their players and maneuver around and build their contending team for next season. Okay, that is a significant amount. That allows them cap flexibility because Laine and Dach are going to be cheap. Kapanen's on an ELC. Volokhin's a prospect. And the first, if they don't want to use it, they can flip it and use it to trade for another asset. Okay. I think that's it. I think I hit all my points. Now, okay. I also considered another possibility with this, and it involves, again, the goaltending, right? Depending on what they do with Bobrovsky, because I think that's going to be the key factor here. If they want to re-sign Bobrovsky, which I think they do, then I think this is what it's going to look like. If they want to move Bobrovsky, however, I could see the Panthers saying, hey, well, you know what? We'll take Patrik Laine at full cost. We'll give you Bobrovsky retained, but we want Jakub Dobeš on top of that. Would you do that?
Well, you're including, it's a new proposal or it's included in this proposal?
This is more of like an alternate situation dependent on Bobrovsky's situation, right? I think he is the hinge here, okay? Depending on whether they want to keep him and re-sign him for a year or two, or they want to move on from him, right? I think this particular scenario is they keep him, but there's another scenario where they want to move on from him, and that's when I think they could ask for Jakub Dobeš, which, I could hear Habs fans clenching right now because, oh my God, he's the only goalie that can win us games right now.
Yeah, well, even then it would, it would be an upgrade over what you're offering.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when I saw your trade proposal, it was like you're coming to me, you just cleaned up the board games in your basement that you don't want to play with anymore. And me, I have a nice little scooter, and you want my scooter in return for the board games.
Except there's the financial situation of it all. And that's where I think I'm kind of sitting on. Obviously, on paper, this trade makes no sense. I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. The financial part of it is where I think there's a possibility here. And again, I want to reiterate, I don't think this is going to happen. This is just for fun. okay? Because I love Anton Lundell, and I would be willing to give up a whole lot more than that to get him. I don't think the Panthers are going to want to move him. A great young center at $5 million a year. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic. But Kent Hughes is a wizard. He's accustomed us to these types of trades that you don't see coming. They're like, oh my God, yeah, that does make sense. Now, maybe I'm lowballing here. Maybe you can add more to that deal or change it however you want. But I'd love to get more of your thoughts on this situation.
Well, I don't really know how what I would. I really don't know what the Panthers could be looking for outside of cap relief, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when you make a trade that is cap relief related, you're going to try and trade an older player, and you might even give up assets to get rid of that player. We've seen this before. In this case, you would be trading away one of their youngest players or one of their only young players.
Mm.
And basically, you in return, you're getting a collection of, an expiring contract, a guy who you don't really know if his 18 goals are for real or not, in Kapanen.
That's for Bill Zito to determine.
Doc can be a good depth player, but he's often injured. Volokin, I like Volokin, but he's a real question mark when it comes to goalies. I mean, we're talking, some of the Panthers players will be at the old people's home when Volokin reaches the NHL, if he does. The 26 pick is fine because, they need picks. Their cupboard is empty. So I don't really know. I understand. It's creative what you did, but at the same time, if I'm Florida, I'm thinking, what the hell is this? And that's why I thought of the analogy of you. I see you in your basement, you're taking out your board games, and then you walk out to my driveway and you say, can I have your scooter? And you're giving me your old Monopoly, So
yeah, that's fair.
Because it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because there are too many question marks with the four guys that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
A 19-year-old or 20-year-old Russian goalie, a rookie who we don't know how good he is, really, and a guy who's often injured, and another guy who's at the end of the line, really. Whether he's friends with Barkov or not, he's at the end of the line.
I'm thinking outside the box here.
yeah. I have to say it's very creative, to be polite, but it's a strange trait. But it was fun. It was fun.
That's the purpose of this exercise.
It was fun. I'm sure you're gonna get some very nice comments in the comments.
I'm ready for it. I'm hoping I get some. Listen, that's the whole point of these exercises. Most of those trade proposals never come to fruition. I actually only ever got one right, and it's probably one I shouldn't have gone right. I said that the Montreal Canadiens should trade Artturi Lehkonen for Justin Barron in a second-round pick. I got it spot on. I got it spot on word for word, and it's one of Kent Hughes's worst trades, if you will. So, I don't want. But at the time, I'm throwing this out because in case I get this right. At the time, I thought it was a great trade because Lehkonen was never one of my favorite players. Yeah.
But it just so happened that he ended up in Colorado, where he found a perfect niche, a perfect role, which was kind of a Zach Hyman with McDavid type of role, that he has with McKinnon. So I think had Lehkonen been traded to another team, you would be thinking, oh, okay, good trade, but the guy ends up in Colorado and he's been very useful. So I think most fans agreed with that trade at the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Lehkonen was not really a fan favorite because he missed so many open nets, and you remember. So, but he scored a very important goal on June 24th, 2021. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was fun. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Hopefully, trades happen before Thursday, so we can comment on these.
Yeah, it's been dry so far. Absolutely nothing. Yeah. But take these proposals for whatever they're worth. I've only ever gotten one right, so I don't know that much. I'm not plugged in at all. I'm not an insider. I'm just having fun. So are you, and hopefully So are you watching here? Send in your trade proposals. If you have anything outside the box, a name that not enough people are talking about, we want to hear from you, okay? Send in your proposals, send in your names, all of that good stuff, and send in your questions, okay? Because we're about to get to the mailbag right now. Let's hit it. Two questions in the queue. This one's coming from King Impeccable. Snake, didn't you contradict yourself about the Blues? And this is in regard to our discussion last show about the rebuilds. You mentioned how the Blues are not a model for winning a cup and that you need all-stars. And then when talking about the Blues, I mentioned that they have no all-stars, and yet you wouldn't go for a rebuild. Why not?
I love it when fans put these contradictions in my face, because I do contradict myself sometimes. Well, actually, quite often, I would say. I'll try and I'm not sure. Maybe I understand the question 100%, but when the Blues won the Cup in 2019, yeah, it was an aberration. You need stars. They didn't have stars, really. That's correct. I stand by this. Now, the 2026 version of the Blues is kind of another version of a team that doesn't really have all-stars. And I do agree. Why don't I think they need a rebuild? It's because they have a lot of young players coming along. They have some young players who are already established. But like we said the other day, they have players in different age groups. And I think what they need to do is probably get younger, but that doesn't necessarily mean a rebuild. Because when you have the young players that they have, I think it's more like continuing to build on that. Now, will they be able to get a star? Perhaps this year, if they get a lottery pick, a top 2, or maybe if they end up with a top 5 pick. So it might be a good step forward. So for now, I would say I wouldn't even agree with trading Robert Thomas, because he's only 26. But you know what? I would trade maybe a couple of older defensemen. And I would, even if he's almost the same age as Thomas, I would listen to offers for Jordan Kyrou. If you can get younger.
He's on the way out. He's on the way out. But Thomas, I still don't understand the perspective of the Blues. However, if they do trade him, they're going to get a boatload for him. So in that sense,
and then these players can be of the same age as the young core that they're building. I mean, closer in age. But the young core that they have, the listener is right. There's no all-stars. Jake Neighbors and Otto Stenberg and
Dvorsky.
Dvorsky. There's no all-stars. But maybe this number 1 pick this year will become an all-star. So it's kind of a tricky situation in St. Louis.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the second question here. This one is coming from Emil Shelbourne. Probably the luckiest team to win the Cup was the 1993 Montreal Canadiens. Do you remember a luckier team? Was the St. Louis Blues more lucky or just deep?
The St. Louis Blues is a strange case, because they were 31st overall, last overall in 2019, around Christmas time, halfway mark. Doug Armstrong was, I think, a few days away from starting a rebuild. And then they started winning. One thing I remember, and I'm not going as far as saying that I predicted that Cup. I never saw it coming, okay? So let's make this clear. But I was watching the Blues. I remember during that terrible first half, and I was thinking, it's not a bad team. I remember one night especially, I don't know why I remember these things, but I remember one night against Colorado, and I'm like, hey, this is a good team. Why are they 31st overall? So, no. I never predicted they would make the playoffs. I never predicted they would win, but I didn't think they were as bad as, the typical 31st place teams, like we have right now, with Vancouver and the Sharks before and the Blackhawks. So that's the thing. So I think, they were deep. And they all peaked at the right time.
Hot goaltending
also. So I don't think they were lucky. When the listener talks about the Habs being lucky in 1993, well, I think there's two things that have to be considered. First of all, the opponents. Okay, the Pittsburgh Penguins were heavy favorites to win their third Stanley Cup in a row. They got beaten in 7 games in overtime by the New York Islanders, who were a very, very average team that just happened to have the Penguins' number for a couple of weeks. So, and then, in the Western Conference, some teams were eliminated too, and mostly the Habs won 10 games in overtime. Have we seen this before? No. Are we going to see this again? 10-0 in overtime?
No.
We're going to see this in our lifetime. So that's it was a combination of the powerhouse being eliminated and the 10 goals in overtime. And one thing I remember, I watched this game, the number 7 game. It was a Friday night against the Islanders in Pittsburgh, and the game went to overtime. And Jacques Demers, who was the Habs coach at the time, they had a camera in his living room because he was watching this game. And we all knew, I remember I had a bunch of friends over, and we all knew that if the Islanders won, the Habs had a clear path to the Stanley Cup. Although it was only the second round. We knew what was left. All these teams, the Islanders, the Kings, the Maple Leafs that were still around, they were beatable. And Jacques Demers, when they scored the goal, he was trying to not smile because he knew he was going to have his Stanley Cup ring.
Wow.
And he did. So I think, they were lucky. And but look, some other years you have a very good team, like in 1989, they had a great team, but they faced the Calgary Flames, who were a real powerhouse. So it's like, had they won in 1989, but not in 93, it would have been fair, let's say. But they won in 93. Good for them. Most people under the age of 40 do not remember. So we'll see and most people who were there at the time did not have gray hair. So we'll see what happens next few years. Let's see. It's not impossible that the Habs win a cup within the next few years.
There you go. Snake, we've been going at it for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's been our biggest show yet, but we knew it was going to be. We warned you at the top. Thank you for Jimmy at Master Control for hanging with us. Thank you all for tuning in. And thank you in advance for all your comments and your insults and your trade proposals. We love them all. We're not offended. We love them all. Any interaction with the show is good. So thank you to our loyal listeners. Thank you, Snake, for participating in this. You know what? This is an exercise that only happens once a year, so we wanted to make it count. We wanted to do it right, and I think we did. Snake, anything else to add before we bounce?
Well, next few shows, hopefully we can comment on trades,
actual trades,
big and small, or big and small.
Hopefully we actually have some material. I remember last year's trade deadline, there was a lot of action on trade deadline day. So I'm hoping there's a bit more on the Thursday, because that's when we're going to be recording. But nonetheless, we're going to break down whatever we can and send in your topic recommendations. If there's a good one in there, we might just use it. So for Simon the Snake Boisvert, I'm producer Shayne. This has been a fantastic edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. We'll be back on Thursday. Until then, take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.